This time on the Families Matter Most podcast.
When your partner's sex bucket, I feel like I've said this word so many times.
Keep going.
When your partner's sex bucket is so large, they're making comments, they're joking, they're hinting. Those pinches, they fill up. All of that fills up the bucket.
And it's a small bucket you have.
Yeah. Then later, if intimacy is an option, my bucket's already overflowing.
And my bucket has nothing in it. And that is the crux of the problem. We haven't even done anything yet.
Right?
Every time Jen Dean speaks, I can see hope, knowledge, expertise, wisdom, and love.
When Jen Dean speaks about parenting, we make sure that we are there to listen because we know we will get valuable advice.
Families Matter Most with Jen Dean.
She doesn't just give skills for us to be better parents, but she teaches us how to reach our children's hearts. And at the end of the day, that's what truly matters.
On the podcast today, I have a very special guest. It is Sean, the great, the amazing Sean. Welcome to the podcast.
I got to give her $20. I got to go around. Give her $20 for saying those nice words. Thank you.
Yeah, Sean, tell us about yourself.
No, thanks. I'm okay.
Tell us about your lovely wife and your fantastic marriage.
Yeah. I've been married to this girl named Jen. You may know her. For how old's our oldest son?
27?
Married for 26 years.
Yep, that's right.
That's how I remember. He always jokes because the other day our son was looking through our photo album. I don't know when it was. He was younger. And looking through the photo album, and he's looking through, and all of a sudden he sees our wedding pictures. He's like, hey, how come I'm at your wedding?
Okay, your son is going to kill you for this.
I bug him all the time.
He was 26 years old looking through the photo album.
He was probably 12.
Probably 6.
I always change the time.
But yes, he did see his picture at our wedding. We had to explain.
Yeah, Jen and I pretty much met, had a baby, and then figured out how to make this work. And then 2 other kids later, that was boom, boom.
Yeah.
So our oldest is like 27, and our others are like 20 and 19. So it was like we had a gap.
Yeah.
And so we had a lot of time to really screw things up in our marriage if we wanted to. And for a while, it was.
It was really hard for a long time, but we figured
was.
some things out.
We did.
3 things couples fight about the most.
Yep.
Kids, money, and sex.
And sometimes religious beliefs, too, is the 4th little caveat underneath, can cause a problem, too.
Which one did we fight about the most?
Sex.
Sex. That is our topic today.
Yes.
I've got a name for the podcast today.
Yeah.
You want to hear it?
Sure.
The sex bucket.
This sounds so bad. This sounds like a dirty, one of those.
Bow, chicka, wow, wow.
One of those audio books.
The sex bucket. It sounds like a bad porn prop idea.
I don't know what you're talking about, Jen.
Okay, so imagine a bucket, and this is your capacity, the desire, the amount of intimacy, vulnerability, sex you want in your marriage.
Now, can I give my example? Probably most men would fit into this. Not all, but most. Imagine a garbage can, like a kitchen garbage can. A good size. It's pretty big.
Oh, okay.
And I don't mean garbage. I shouldn't use a garbage can, but
so trash? What?
Not trash. Size of the can itself.
Okay.
That's probably my sex bucket. Now, through age, it's changed. It's gotten a little smaller. But Jen's in the beginning was the size of, let's say, a tiny little potted plant for like 1 flower. That was her sex bucket.
Mine was tiny. Okay.
Well, it wasn't that tiny. It was like maybe 2 flowers.
Maybe 2 flowers. Maybe.
And
then you had 3 kids.
They got really small.
It was a thimble.
In fact, couldn't find it for a few
It was
months.
lost. It was lost. We lost it.
It was totally gone. So that's the difference between my sex bucket and Jen's sex bucket.
A big sex bucket might mean you love talking about sex. You love joking about sex. You love pinching your partner's butt, hinting about your love life.
Yeah.
You would love to have sex every day, frequently.
Some people, yeah, I'm in for that. I'm just trying to be real with you because you know what? You get a lot of questions, and anytime I go and speak with you at places, especially, we just did an event with some women, and it came up quite a bit, more than I suspected, with a group of women asking questions about sex life. And I think it's super important in marriage. It is, and it can be taken so far out of context from one side or the other.
Yes.
And there's hurt feelings involved, and then there's shame, and there's guilt. I guess that's what we're going to talk about.
Well, if one person, and it could be the woman, sometimes that happens
Absolutely.
where women have the large sex bucket
Yep.
and maybe their partners isn't so large.
Yeah.
So what if you're exhausted, waking up with the kids every night, you're stressed out, you feel overwhelmed, you're touched out, kids have been climbing on you all day long. The thought of being vulnerable intimately, it seems like work. It seems like just another thing, a duty. So your sex bucket, if that's you, your sex bucket might be extra small
It could be.
right now.
Or
And then-
non-existent.
Right?
Yeah.
Jokes. The problem is when your partner's sex bucket, I feel like I've said this word so many times.
Keep going.
When your partner's sex bucket is so large, they're making comments, they're joking, they're hinting. Those pinches, they fill up. All of that fills up the bucket.
Yeah, and it's a small bucket you have.
Yeah. So then later, and this was me, then later, if intimacy is an option, my bucket's already overflowing. I feel like I'm sexed out already and we haven't even done anything.
And my bucket has nothing in it. And that is the crux of the problem.
Yeah.
Right? Because I've already showered it with so much stuff for you. We haven't even done anything yet.
Right. And I feel like we have been talking, thinking about sex all day.
Yeah,
and
you're sexed out.
I'm done. I'm done. Yeah. So what do we do about this? The problem is then we fall into this trap of, what do we say? Just put the nightie down when you're done. Like, let's just get it over with. Fine.
Now, here's the thing with that. I'll speak from experience.
Okay.
I think guys will say, okay, because sometimes you'll just take what you can get when you can get it.
You'll
right?
take it.
And then it becomes the duty thing. I can honestly say, even from my perspective, is that even when you would do that, because that happened in our relationship.
Yeah.
And then you would take advantage of the situation because who knows, haven't seen the sex bucket in how many days.
Dust it off.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then after that, it's like you feel guilt or shame or like I did something wrong here. Like I took advantage of a situation. You didn't even want to do this.
Yeah.
Right. And then that is not what sex was supposed to be about. It's not what's supposed to be hurt feelings for me and you at the same time after having that experience. So we had to figure some things out.
I heard a therapist one time, a male therapist, talking about this, and he said, and Sean, I'd love to know your thoughts on this. He was saying, you know, the most lonely feeling in the world when you are craving physical intimacy with your wife, the person you love the most.
Yeah.
You're lying in bed beside her, and you know she's not interested.
Yeah.
He said it is the most loneliest, most rejected feeling he's ever felt.
Yeah.
Can you relate to that?
Totally. And I'm not trying to throw you under the bus here.
Yeah.
On your own podcast today. But I think it's important. And I know we're making jokes about it a little bit, but it's a bigger deal than most people think. And now with the world the way it is, especially for other options to be there, as far as pornography goes, like the numbers are through the roof right now. And not just for men, but for women, but men as well.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
If you're not getting it somewhere, you're going to find it somewhere. And that's also, I'm not trying to give guys an out.
No,
like, I'm not trying to say that.
it is not permission and it is not the woman's fault.
No.
It's,
But it will also tarnish all the other things. Like, and then you always will feel guilt after, right? You'll feel shame after. It's just part of how that thing works. It wasn't how it was supposed to be. We're supposed to be intimate together. So you have this tiny sex bucket, especially if you're young and you have kids, right? That's that's when we fought the most about it. And then I'm in overdrive because in my head and my instincts are I need to make children when you're young. I think it's innate, you know what I mean? And they don't mix and they don't work out and they don't add up when you do the math. And so it causes friction and fighting.
So here's my struggle right now. The tightrope I'm walking is I want both people to take a step towards each other.
Okay.
So because my sex bucket was small, I can talk about taking a step towards my husband and making room for him. And part of the ways that I did that is I actually thought about it differently. And at first I didn't tell Sean. I started scheduling it in my phone, in my calendar, and not telling him.
Yeah.
Because I find it easier to just wrap my brain around it. This is what I'm doing. And not in a like, fine, I'll do it. But I decided, you know what helped me is I decided that if a friend called and needed to talk, I could find 15, 20, 30 minutes for them. I could do that.
Yep.
So why can't I do that for my partner? So I try to shift it that way. I can give of myself to do it, and I can do it willingly, and I can be fun and right and enjoy it, not a duty like, all right, hurry up. It doesn't have to be like that.
Yeah.
So that's one way that I did it. And then eventually Sean found out about my schedule.
It's like, I don't know if I like this idea because isn't this supposed to be like, spontaneous and
Right.
romantic? And those things still can happen, right? They still can happen, and they still do happen. Shall have you know.
Okay.
We've been married a long time. We're pushing 50. There's still spice. You can still spice things up. But I think the difference is if you came to me, and we're saying this, by the way, because we hope this helps you. This is actually hard for me to talk about.
I know.
And I don't want to do this part of me. But I wish someone had told me this sooner. So when you come to me and you say, hey, baby, and this question was asked of us, exactly this question.
Yes.
You would come to me and you'd say, hey, baby, how you doing? The kids are gone, blah, blah, throw some shoes in the dryer.
Yeah.
Let's go fool around. Well, no, this is just for you. But it was like you were controlling that, and I felt like the king of the world. Sorry, I'm not trying to get graphic. It's just the way it was. Versus, just hurry up and get it done.
Yeah.
Where the attitude can be that even if it's not said, guys know. The same way girls know if you're being creepy and being too touchy. And
Yep.
Right?
We know when it's half-hearted, disinterested, annoyed, frustrated. We know.
Yep.
Okay. So on the flip side, if a partner, maybe this is you, maybe this is your spouse, has a large sex bucket, Sean, what is one way you took a step towards me and my sometimes very, very small, non-existent sex bucket?
Well, I think it comes down to it's the love language thing a little bit for me, where words are so important to me, right? Words are not that important to you. It's acts of service or for you.
Yeah, to me, anyone can say something, but what do you do?
Yeah, and they say sex starts in the kitchen, right? And all those things with how you're treating her, how you're handling her. Are you listening? Are you asking good questions? So that was my mindset to flip, going, stop, that's not what she likes. That's not what she likes. She likes to be talked to, go figure, and ask questions. And what can I do for her? Can I bring her a coffee in the morning? Can I let me do this? You go sit down. Like, what can I do as an act of service? Now, the key is I can't be doing it going, I'm adding this up.
Oh, I did this for you.
Yeah, that's not how. And as soon as you let go of that and you just start doing things because you know it's the right thing for the person, because I was being selfish, to be quite honest, and probably so were you. And so when I started being selfless and started doing things that I thought would be beneficial to you and things that would help you, then guess what happens? You started wanting to do that for me without me asking, without me being vindictive or tricky or trying to do anything, because I think people see through that right away. But it took us way too long to figure that out. And we had a decent life in that arena. Like, it wasn't bad, right?
Yeah.
And some people are going through a hard time in that arena. And so it's about having some conversations about it and understanding what the other person wants and needs to feel intimate. Because I just assume you're just like me, Jen.
Right?
Right?
Not at all.
Nice butt. You know?
Stop it.
You could say that to me and I'm like, hey, that's awesome. But so it's just a matter of perspective.
So some challenges for you. I want you to sit down, like Sean said, and talk to your person and really try not to take offense. It's not, if you could not make it personal and just ask questions like, okay, what do you love about our intimacy? What do you not enjoy? What do you wish we could have more of? A big question is, how could I show you I love you? Like, what would make you feel loved, cherished, valued? Those are all great questions and hard, because you got to be prepared to hear some of the ways that you haven't been doing that.
While you're in the middle of a fight, not a good time to have that conversation.
No.
But that's one of those conversations that could be scheduled as well, so you could think about it. And not just, I want to talk to you tomorrow about something. No, don't leave it open. Like, hey, let's talk about this. Do you have some time to talk about it? Because I want to make it better and I want to be right by you. That could be said by other person, right? If you said that to me, which you did, I'm like all in. Okay. Like, you came at it with the right attitude, and then I came at it with the right attitude. It's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough and it's messy.
Talk about frequency. Talk about what would be ideal for each of you, and then find something in the middle.
Like 5 times a week? Is that too much?
Yeah, that's too much.
I think average was 2 point something times a week. I don't know what the point means. I don't know.
I don't know.
Like
I think
a pass in the hallway or something. I don't know.
a high five. When you've got
maybe.
young kids, it might look different than that.
Yeah.
But it won't be forever. Still, talk about frequency. And then I'm going to say it, schedule sex. Put it in the calendar. You can both look forward to it.
Yeah. And we said for a while, another thing that worked with us was, let's try twice a week, but I instigate once and you instigate once.
Yeah, we tried that too.
And that worked. Like
It
sort
worked
of.
better for Sean. I still needed to put it in my calendar.
Yeah.
However
you do it.
I think because women are more thought driven, it's more of like a decision. Like a woman, I think, will choose to get excited about intimacy and to engage. So for me, having it in the calendar, I knew that on this night, this is what I was going to do. So I knew to take it easy. I knew in my brain, don't put on the sweatpants and sit on the couch. You're going to go and put some lipstick on and brush your hair. And
Just for the record, you don't even need to do that, ladies. We're fine. I could be in the garage. You're, working in the garden. You're like, hey, come inside. Yeah, let's go. Like, you know what I mean? It doesn't take much. It doesn't take much, but I understand where you're coming from.
so for you listening to this podcast, I hope this encourages you. I do. I want you to know that we didn't always get this right.
No. And to this day, this is the one area where we have issues still. We have issues all over the place, of course, but
Especially Sean.
But I'm saying repetitive stuff that we think we should know better, right? As we're getting older and menopause and all these other things are happening, that's changing everything in this arena as well and in life. But when it's the repetition of the same problems over and over, this one is the one that has come up, I would say, most frequent in our 26 years of marriage.
It still gets us from time to time. But we have learned a lot, and if we can help you in some way, I hope this encourages you. Whatever side of this you're on, if you've got the really big sex bucket, the tiny one, or somewhere in the middle, just know that you are valued and you're important, and talk to your person, and let's try and figure this out and make it better.
And it is important for both people in the relationship to have a good sex life.
Yeah.
Like it really is. And it doesn't mean it has to be 5 times a week, right? To be a good sex life. Like I think we get caught up in the world's view of what is perfect for a sex life. And you see what on TV and in movies and it's all this stuff, right? But it's never quite like the movies, right?
No, it's not.
In fact, sometimes that hurts. Why can't you be more like Brad Pitt? Well, I'll tell you why, because he's an actor and he's been airbrushed. And if you gave me someone to help me with my diet and training and
where's my
out,
personal chef? Yeah.
Brad Pitt.
I hear you. Which I've never said, by the way.
No,
I've never said.
She never has. I'm just example.
Corey Hart now.
We don't talk about Corey Hart. She said she would leave me for Corey Hart.
No, I was just kidding.
Corey
mostly.
Hart. I call him Corey Fart. That's the first time I bet the fart word was used in the Families Matter Most podcast ever, was just now.
Yep.
You're welcome.
That's what you've brought to the podcast, Sean.
Breaking barriers, sex buckets, and Corey Fart today.
We'd love to know what you think about this podcast. Do you want to hear more of these real, very real topics? Let us know. Let us know how this has helped you. Let us know where you're struggling, and I'll drag Sean back on.
Yeah, and if you send an email with a question and you want me involved, because Jen doesn't include me in those things because it's private.
Yeah.
Unless you say, can you ask Sean this or the both of you this? I'm happy to help wherever I can. And sometimes to say like, I don't know, that's a tough question. We got to figure it out.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out. Then we will.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for having me on your podcast today, Jen. How's your sex bucket today, by the way?
My sex bucket is a little bigger now after this conversation.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Thanks for listening to the Families Matter Most podcast with Jen Dean. Book a free strategy call today and get the tools and tips you need to be a more calm and confident parent. For more podcasts, online courses, or just to get more information, visit familiesmattermost.com.